Hi, this is Randy Wykoff, the Dean of the College of Public Health from East Tennessee State University, and I'm pleased to provide the 146th video on COVID-19. This is the 64th weekly update dating back to May of 2020 with data accurate through August 5th, 2021. This week, I'm going to ask a very basic question, and that is, do people who have been vaccinated have a lower death rate from COVID-19? Now, that may seem like a pretty basic question. We hear it all the time. The vaccines are safe and effective. But here's a basic question. Are they less likely to die from COVID? Well, I don't have any secret inside information, but I did track down states ranked by deaths in the past week. And this is really important because a lot of times when I tell you the death rate in a state, it's cumulative, right? It goes back to March of 2020. These are deaths in the last week. These are people who have died from COVID recently. And I have all 50 states for that. Then I got all 50 states for the percent of the population that's vaccinated. I created a flow chart and a scatter diagram. So in this diagram, states' vaccination rates are over here, high vaccination rates are up here, low vaccination rates are here, high death rates are here, low death rates. These are deaths in the past 7 days, just recent deaths. I'm going to put up a dot for each of the 50 states, and you can begin to see a pattern with those states with higher vaccination rates having lower death rates. And just for information, I'll mark Tennessee there, one of the bottom 10 states for vaccination rate, one of the bottom 15 states for the unfortunately highest for number of deaths. And there's a line that shows you the relationship. So let's talk about this a little bit. The average death rate in states that have over 60% vaccination rate, that's a high vaccination rate, is 0.03 deaths per 100,000 population last week. For those with 50 to 60%, slightly lower vaccination rate, the death rate is twice as high. 40 to 50, a little bit lower, twice as high. And for those under 40%, it's almost 0.2. So it's over 6 times higher, the death rate in the last week from COVID in those states with lower vaccination rates compared to those with higher vaccination rates. Look at it another way. Of the 20 states that have over half the population vaccinated, only one has a death rate of greater than 0.1. Of the remaining 30 states that have less than a 50% vaccination rate, almost half have a death rate. This is very powerful stuff. And of the 9 states with a vaccination rate under 40%, almost 80% of them have a death rate higher. So when you look at this, yes, people who've been vaccinated have a much lower death rate from COVID-19. Now, could there be confounders? Yes. People who have been vaccinated may be more likely to wear masks, may be more likely to social distance, may be more likely to avoid crowds, and so on. But these data, as primitive as they are pretty good indicator that those places with higher death rates have lower vaccination rates. The other thing you can begin to think about is as these numbers get higher and higher, it appears that they're approaching lower and lower numbers of deaths. That may mean somewhere up here is where we might get to herd immunity. We don't know for sure yet. Then I'm going to quick update on the pandemic. I'm actually not going to say much. I'm just going to show these slides because I've been showing them every week for the last 64 weeks. 4.2 million deaths worldwide. That's 6 deaths every minute. We see this pattern where we had a spike followed by another spike in cases, followed by another spike in cases. And we were watching to see if we were going to see a spike in deaths. And it does appear globally that we're seeing that. We're seeing the same pattern in the United States, a big spike in cases. And now we're seeing another spike coming up. We're seeing a spike in hospitalizations. And not really yet a spike in deaths. It is creeping back up, but we'll keep our eye on that. 630,000 deaths in the United States. 2,800 deaths last week. That's 400 deaths every day, 1 death every 4 minutes. Look at the state of Tennessee. We see the same pattern. Increased daily cases, increased hospitalizations, but again, just beginning of an increase in the death rate. And then in terms of our immediate region, Ballod, as you know, has been reporting a significant increase in hospitalizations. You can see how the numbers went up leveled off, we're on the drop down, and now we're coming back up. And we'll have to see what that pattern is going to do, because it's now as high as it's been any time except during the October through January period. So do people who have been vaccinated have a lower death rate from COVID-19? Yes, it may not be causal, but it's pretty significant, sixfold difference. And then I gave you an update on the pandemic. A great deal more information on the College of Public Health website. If you're sharing this video with anyone, please let Jan Stork know. We'd be happy to add them to our mailing list. Thanks as always to Dara Young for producing, editing, and posting this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, please let me know. I try to answer most of my incoming questions by email. Some of them I incorporate into the weekly update. So thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you next week. Please be well.